Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. And welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Julie Coraccio. Julie is an award-winning professional life and end-of-life organizer and certified life coach. She is passionate about supporting people and clearing clutter in all areas of their lives, getting organized, and becoming more mindful and aware. She hosts the popular self-help podcast, Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, and is the author of 10 books, including the Got Clutter 365 Journal Prompt series. And she's happily married to Tony. She's also at the beck and call of 4 rescue cats named Joey, Antonio, Annina, and Augusta. She's based in Wheeling, West Virginia, and Julie works with people all over the world. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Miss Julie Coraccio. Hi, Julie. How are you?
Hey, Kimberly. I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. You know, we was going through a few craziness trying to get it going, but we are here, and that's the best part. That's always the blessing out of all the turmoil with technology, but hey, it's going to be an exciting evening here, and I'm excited to hear more about you and I really want to hear about the cats because I'm a cat lover. So
Awesome.
Can't wait till we get to that point too. So anyway, before we actually get started, please just tell my listeners a little bit more about who Julie Coraccio is and what else do you do beyond what I've already read.
Well, as you mentioned in the bio, I'm really passionate about supporting other women business owners. I'm about being the support system for people to be able to shine their light and share their gifts with the world. I mean, now more than ever, we need people who are excited about what they do, love what they do, and sharing their gifts. Mm-hmm. I am very interested. I love to read. I love to hike. I just finished a course studying plant medicine. So I'm always trying to enrich and learn more and be the best version of myself that I can be.
Wow. That's interesting. When you just said plant medicine, that is very unique and has nothing to do with what you really do now, which is even better, right? Like you said, the constantly of improving and growing yourself. And, I love what you said in the beginning about, helping other women, and really this is a great time and the best time for people to really, truly open up themselves, realize their passions, understand what they're about. And, this last couple of years, as we all know, has been very interesting. Mm-hmm. And it has taken people either one way or the other, kind of in between, and I think that the first several months, it was just really an opportunity for people to just stop. I mean, we had no choice. We had to stop what we were doing, rethink. Some people did, some people didn't, but it really enlightened us in a way that I have never seen before. When I think about the things that are going on, when you listen to the news and you hear these things, like, I've never realized how many people disliked their jobs, dislike what they've done, who they are. And for the first time, people are actually listening. So I want to know, in your thought process right now, what is your thinking of what is really going on, and how do you see the importance of starting to basically spread your wings and get out of those shadows and quit hiding behind something and really starting to live. Talk a little bit about that.
I think that you hit upon it. It was like the world said, we need a reset button. And so, you can only hide from yourself so much. Now, I think that there are people who can probably go through their entire lives and hide, but this really forced, I think, a whole new group of people to do some self-examination, and for people who are already in that to take it a step even further. A lot of times, it's not just with jobs and our passions and what we're doing, but relationships, because, our primary relationships affect us and are, in a huge way. And so if you weren't happy in a marriage, it was probably going to come out during COVID. I laughed. We recently moved. I was like, back to my hometown. And I was like, what is it that, we can't find a house? And she said, well, COVID divorces. A lot of people ended up divorcing, I think, and I'm sure people came together. But for me, it was about really resetting, taking pause, and kind of, it showed you who you were. Did you see COVID as an opportunity and everything going on, just COVID, as an opportunity to explore or expand? Or did you withdraw more and stay stuck in fear? So I also think it showed people, kind of what they're made of.
Right. I absolutely agree. And, when we look at it in that perspective, and I think about how with a lot of the companies and, the organizations are saying, previously you have to be here on the job so we can see what you're doing. We need to know what you're about. This was an opportunity where everybody truly got to see, like you said, what they were about personally, but also professionally. So it was that moment of reckoning of, hey, are you really doing your job? Do you really love your job? Do you really love who you are? What is it that is making you tick? And then also started to get to the point where you can see that these organizations are starting to be more appreciative now because they realize that this is how things really can be. You don't have to be stuck in a scenario in anywhere in life where you're killing yourselves in order to be at the top, so to speak, and still not be, considered welcoming, still not having to get what you deserve out of that because of all of these conformities that we're so used to having to deal with, whether it's personal or professional. So in your business and the things that you do, you are a life organizer. So talk about what that means to my listeners.
So for me, it's about supporting people and organizing all areas of their lives. When I first started my business, and I recommend never change your business name, it's a big pain in the rear, but my business name was called Healing Through Organization, because when I decided, what can I do that'll use my skill sets, but that'll make a difference in the lives of people? And so it was sealing the process of that. And so in our life, maybe it's when we clear the physical clutter, it helps a marriage. Or maybe it's something like the financial aspect. Let's get all our bills organized and set up a system of that. So it's really about what is going on in the life that we need to get organized. But also a huge part of that for me is decluttering, because when we declutter, we let go of what isn't important. So it's figuring out what's going on in the life and how do we achieve that. For an example, if I'm working with someone, an assignment might be say no 3 times this week if you have trouble setting boundaries, because if you can't say no, that can also create physical clutter, because someone will say to you, hey, can you hold on to all this stuff because I don't have room, and you really don't want to, but then you can't say no. So it's about involving different techniques for that. But it's really, if it's life, we're going to organize or declutter it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that word decluttering should be a staple in the word no. I mean, I love how you said that. If you can't say no 3 times, where is the problem? What is it that's really stopping you? What is it that you need to rethink? And, I'm sure a lot of people are still going through that process of understanding what their clutter is and how to declutter that because they've had more time on their hand. We're no longer really constantly having to feel like you have to rush. Now, there are some that are going back to that same old routine, but then at the same token, when you kind of gotten used to, hey, I'm home, I can actually be with my family, or I can be with my friends, or I can do the things I need to do that I haven't done in 10 years. I've been saying I'm going to do that. All that decluttering had literally, like we have talked about earlier, just has woken up people all around, whether it's professionally, personally, the whole 9 yards. So what strategies do you provide, and what is the thought process that you give to those people who are saying to themselves, you know what, I've been trying to declutter for the last 2 years. I'm just not getting there. How would you help them in that process?
Well, of course, obviously everything's individualized, but what I would say is, we have to start somewhere. So I would say, maybe you have a deadline. So for instance, you are getting new kitchen cabinets installed. So I'd be like, you know what, now would be a great time to declutter and organize the kitchen because we have a built-in deadline. How great is that? So that's going to tell us, bam, there's our priority. Mm-hmm. Or if you have an issue, say you have health challenges and your bedroom's crammed full of stuff. And I'd say, you know what, our health is a priority. Let's start in decluttering your bedroom and going there. Or if something's driving you absolutely nuts and you're like, you know what, I'm an artist, I'm in my studio and it's just so junked up, I just feel like I can't be creative in this space. So if there's something that's driving you crazy, or you might not have a set in stone deadline like you do with the kitchen cabinets, but if there's something like, you know what, we've adopted a kid and we're going to have a home visit, and so this has to be the priority.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this. Everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
And now, even though we don't know when that's going to happen, it could happen any day. So we need to get on that. So I would first say, and as a couple examples, what's your priority? What is it that you need to begin with? One of the things that people will do is they'll start a little bit maybe in the kitchen and not really accomplish anything. Then they'll go to the bedroom. Then maybe they'll head on to the bathroom. But that's avoidance. It's not really accomplishing anything because there's usually, at least in the people I work with, there's something else going on behind the clutter. There's a reason that's going on. And sometimes that's not easy and it can be painful. But what I like to say is, in my own personal experience and prior to starting my business, I did an internet TV show called Reawaken Your Brilliance, which I was like, that's what I'm going to take as my business name. But everyone I interviewed said the same thing. It's so much harder to hold on to all those fears and what could happen and I can't face the pain than to actually walk through the fire. So I'm just going to encourage your listeners, you know what? I know you might be struggling with that, but I promise you, even if you take that first step and you're really afraid, you're going to be like, wow, why did I wait so long? Because this is a lot easier than not confronting it.
Right. And the main thing, too, is it's not about trying to do it all at once. Like you said, it's just take a little bit at a time, but it's a goal. We all have certain goals, certain responsibilities that we have to do. But when you realize that one little thing's been standing in your way forever, and usually, like you were saying, that people were saying the same thing, they're the person that's in the way of them accomplishing what it is they want to get accomplished, or what it is that goal that they're trying to reach, to clutter and get those things out of the way so they can continue to move forward. And it's a funny how we find ourselves as human beings that we're always doing something to second guess everything that we do. No matter how small it is. And we take that little thing and turn it into a mountain. And then, like you said, you look up 10 years later down the road, you're still doing the same thing because you have not moved, pushed it aside, or not even pushed aside, but actually ran through it. And because it has to be something that has to be addressed. So when you have those, you have those stubborn people, what do so you have this show, how do you deal with those type of people? Because I know you have that person that's constantly thinking everything.
Absolutely. And so what I believe is everyone I work with and everyone listening, you know what's best for you. You have that wisdom within. I see my role as supporting you and bringing that to the surface. So it's something that we will work with on confidence or trusting our intuition or examining, well, why do you not trust this? And, so much time people in society, whether it's our family, our friends, or what we say on Instagram tells us we're bad, we're wrong, we're this and that. And so we get these messages stuck in our head that are kind of on this loop that is sometimes really hard to cut through, and it makes you go on autopilot. So it's examining, well, maybe that's a false belief. Maybe that didn't even come from you. And so it's about trusting yourself and listening to that inner voice, because it's not going to steer you wrong. It's there to support you.
Right, right. So what made you decide that, hey, this is what I need to be doing to get people organized, to get them, clearing their lives so that they can continue to improve? How did you get there? What was that passion? What really truly turned you into that person so that you can help other people as well?
Well, it was a combination of things. So prior to ever starting this, because I started my business in Raleigh in North Carolina, but I'd lived in Los Angeles, and all my friends would be saying to me, well, you're kind of uptight. You're organized. Come and help me get organized. And then I moved out to North Carolina and got a job. And with 2 weeks, I don't believe it was a mistake, because I don't believe we make mistakes. We have lessons to learn. I was like, and I knew right away, this is not going to last. But I said, you know what? I just don't want to take another job. And so I thought about, what could I do that I have the skill set, and I got to make money, and how could I make a difference in people's lives? And so I thought and researched, and I was like, aha, this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first big aha. And then the second big aha, which made me get certified in coaching, was I was working with a client, and she said, and went to Declutter, and I work in chunks of usually 4 hours so you can see some progress. And she said, can we just talk? And I said, absolutely, you're the client. She said, I can tell it's making you a little nervous. And I said, yes, it is, because I want to make sure we get clutter cleared. But she ended up, it was a coaching session. So we did all this talking, and within an hour, we were able to clear most of her clutter because we got to the root of it. So that was the other. I'm like, aha, I think decluttering is the first step.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
And one that's essential, and then comes the organization. And so it was really for me what my skill sets, being able to make money, and how could I make a difference in people's lives.
Right. And the thing that I really took out of that, and I loved, is the fact that that communication key was there. You had to have that communication in order to understand what really is the problem here. So like you said, it wasn't so much just removing and getting things out the way, but you had to understand how did they get there. And that's pretty much with everything that we do in life. It's like you have to understand what the root of the problem is before you can move forward, or move it aside, or however you want to say it, whatever is more comfortable for that person, to get them to understand that all this time has gone by because you did not want to have that conversation. You did not want to face the reality of whatever that reality might be. So when, you have that opportunity, and obviously you have a gift, because a part of being able to communicate with people is a gift, because everybody does see things very differently, So having that opportunity, what is the easiness that you feel that you bring to those clients to make them give you and talk to you and tell you everything that you need to know in order to get them to the end result?
I would say two things. One, I'm non-judgmental because I'm just observe and listen. Why would I judge it? I don't want people judging me, so I wouldn't do that. And I would say the other important thing that I do besides non-judgment is that in addition to helping them take steps and doing that and breaking it down into baby steps, is that I'm real. I will share my experiences. I'll say, hey, I've struggled with things too. You aren't alone. And so I don't present myself as some guru on the mountain spouting things right. and acting like I've never had a struggle in the world. Well, right. I have struggled. So I can feel your pain. I can have empathy and I can have compassion, because I might not have gone through the exact same thing, but I've gone through something similar.
Exactly. That authenticity stands out always. So that's excellent. So I want to talk a little bit about your book, because I love the name of the book, but I also want to talk, being a podcasting, I got a fellow podcaster with me. Yeah. I'll definitely want to hear about first the Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out. So talk about your self-help podcast for a minute.
Well, so I was doing the show Reawaken Your Brilliance, and I was on some list, and it talked about podcasting, and I've been doing it for 8 years, and so kind of started somewhat early. And I was like, I want to do a different format. I don't want to keep going to a studio doing a show. And then I was like, well, what could I do that's different and that has my take on it? And so it just kind of fell into my lap. I'm like thinking, what can I call it? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, boom, there it is. And so what was important to me, especially back then, people only talked about the physical clutter. I'm like, nah, there's so much more to it. And so it evolved in that way. And so I talk about anything that I consider clutter, which, my definition of clutter is it's anything that prevents you from creating the life you choose, deserve, and desire. So that opens us up to everything.
Right. Yeah, that definitely does. And I like that. And you're right. The world that we are around is not just about the physical aspect of everything, but even though the result may come to that point, but like I said, it's all those other pieces that have to come together before you can get to that point. So I definitely like that podcast. And I just love the name, Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out. So when are you on, and how can the listeners listen to your podcast?
Tuesdays at 1 p.m. right now, a couple episodes, but back to 2022 will be weekly. And if they go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com, there's a link to the podcast there, but I think it's on every available platform where you listen to podcasts. So it should be able to find it.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about your book. It's a journal. So tell us a little bit more about the book, and obviously it coincides with everything that you do, but what is the journal prompt series about, the 365?
So I created that because, as I mentioned earlier in our interview, that you have the answers within and you know what's best for you, but sometimes you need a little guidance. And so what I did with the books is, we have one on relationships, on finance, holidays. I wanted to really have a broad spectrum of where people tend to get really decluttered. And so I give a roadmap on how, a little bit of guidance on journal prompting, and then how you can take those and take actions to move forward in life. So I want it to be one of awareness. Okay, this is where I'm stuck. And then how can we take action to create change in our life? So it's about introspection and figuring out where you have clutter and then taking action to move forward. Because if we don't have awareness, our life doesn't change. If we don't take action, our life doesn't change. So that goes back to the passion. I want to support people. You can do this. You're stronger than you know. And
Right.
come on, let's do this.
Right. Right. And I like the fact that it's not, we're kind of getting to that time of year where everybody's starting to think, oh, the new year's coming. So what have I got to do, to get to my new year? And here's my new year resolution attitude. It's not, and I think that the misconception of all of that is, and this is just my opinion, that, the decluttering and the thought process and everything we do has to be done all throughout the year. So having a journal like yours that talks about, hey, 365 journal prompt series, you're giving people the opportunity to look at everything throughout the year and say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I need to do. Waiting until the end of the year or waiting to the beginning of the new year, 90% of the time, if it's something so fresh and new, you're never going to get to it because you got 20 other things that you hadn't actually, decluttered
Right.
and moved out of the way, right? It's
Right.
like-
And then, by February, most people, any resolution's been gone.
Right.
And so that's why it's like at any time of the year, pick it up. It's not dated and you can start where you start.
Exactly. And I love that concept because I just, I see more and more, and I don't know if it's part of, as you continue to have more experiences in life and the things that you want to accomplish, you start to really, like you said, early evaluate the things that are important and not so important. And so when you realize the things that are important, then that's where that focus needs to be. And then you can start that constant saying, declaring. And like you said, the word no, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm going to have to make that a staple above my head some days. Cause I'm like, I finally got to the point. It's like, hey, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Good
like,
for you. Absolutely.
yeah, it's like you're killing me. I mean, we're not going that direction. And then especially when you know that there's at the end of the road, there's really no benefit. And I think when people start to analyze that about themselves and realize, is this really benefiting me as much as it is benefiting you? Then that's when you really understand who you are and how to clear that clutter so you can continue to move forward. So, everything you're doing, I love your passion. You can hear it in your voice. The easiness of how you communicate is very important. And we can sit here and talk all night long about everything that you do because it's just that thought process is the same. So it makes it easier. But I also want to talk a little bit about your cats because when I think about
of course. The important stuff. Forget the clutter. Let's talk about cats.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I know there's some people like, why are we talking about cats? But, it's funny when I think about it, the cat, how in the cat's life, their life is about conformity. Everything has to conform. Everything has to align. Everything has to be the same. So it's like when you take something or change something for them, it's that process that they have to go through to realize, oh, this isn't the same as it was earlier today or yesterday. So how are we going to get them around that? So it's kind of neat when you look at the cat's perspective of life, it's kind of like us as human beings, because when you start to realize that you have to make those changes and you got to do something differently, it does it sets you back for a second because you're like, oh, I got to change this and I don't like that. But when you make that change, it's like, woo, the awakening. And it's kind of like I say, in a cat's life, it's that same scenario. So that's how I see it with cats. So
I hated change. I used to hate change. And I'm like, you know what? You just kind of got to adapt or die, right? Because change is one constant. Things are always going to change. So you've just got to deal with it and get more comfortable with it. Because, that's one thing you don't have control over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And going into new environments, all of that. And, when you're looking at in a cat's life, that would be the same scenario for them. It's like, hey, I moved and now you moved me here and I got all this other thing I got to deal with, figure out what's going on. It's no different than what we do as individuals, is that, like I said, you're either going to adapt to it or you're not going to adapt to it, and things are not going to work for you overall. So, Julie, is there anything though that you would like to really share with the listeners to help them get off their stuff, get off that hump, do something, move forward, give them a little inspiration?
I just want to remind them that they're stronger than they give themselves credit for, that there's no failure, there are no mistakes, we just learn, and that it just takes that first step. And most importantly, I want to remind them that no matter what, I don't care what's happened in your past, no matter what, you're good enough, you are worthy, and you are loved. and all of you listening are inspiring someone, and someone is watching you. You might not think it. You might say, oh, I'm not a big Instagrammer and have all these followers. Not true. You are influencing someone's life, and we need to keep paying that forward, because when you rise, you help the next woman rise, and so forth.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, people realize that being on social media, I mean, it's there because we have it and it does help. But if you feel that that's the only way that you're going to make it, then you're definitely missing the boat. You're definitely not getting it, because it's not about being the top influencer for 4 seconds or 40 seconds. It's literally about influencing your life and somebody else's life permanently. So that there is a huge difference, with that. So I'm glad that, you brought that up, because that's really important for people to understand that when you don't think you're being watched, you are absolutely being watched. I mean, we all kind of go through that process when we're in business and we're wondering, is anybody really paying attention to this? Why do we have to keep posting all this stuff? And you if you're just looking at the numbers, you may get disappointed. So it's not about those numbers. It's really truly about what are you doing to help that person move forward. And that's exactly what I love about what you do, and that the connection that we have here at WSBI is the same way. It's all about sharing those resources and making those connections, and making sure that our women are able to stand next to each other, above each other, and beside each other, every which way, a full circle, so we can continue to grow. So that's really a great thing that you do. And Julie, could you please, tell everybody how they can reach you and where they can find you?
Sure. If they go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com, they can connect with me. I offer a free 15-minute consultation. My classes, my books are there. My books are also on Amazon and Google Play. You can find the podcast and how to follow me on social media at reawakenyourbrilliance.com.
All right. And we will definitely have all the information posted, as you guys can find it, because I know most people are like, well, what did they say? So don't worry, it'll all be available for everybody. So you can definitely find Julie and reach out to her if you are interested in having her help you clear that clutter that you have. And Julie, it has been such a pleasure to have you on my show this evening with me tonight. Your information was very valuable, and I know that we have awakened somebody this evening. So again, I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any last words for our listeners?
No, I just want to thank you and all that you're doing for women business owners, because you're sharing your gifts with the world. And we really, as women business owners, need to stick together and support one another.
Absolutely. Definitely. And thank you. I appreciate that compliment. And for everybody else, before we close tonight's show, as we said, we have learned how to clear the clutter in our lives. We've had a lot of great conversation about that here in the last 30 minutes, but it always leads me to ask people, and my listeners, what are the steps you're going to take? How are you going to live the life that you want to live? What is it you need to do? If you don't know, how to reach those dreams and those goals, reach out to me, and I can definitely help you get there. You can find me at Kimberly at WSBILC@gmail.com. So you can reach me through email, and you can, also reach me through my website at www.wsbilc.com. Let's chat. Let's talk about how you can get to those dreams and turn those dreams into your actual goals. And of course, if you want more of your resource for success, you can donate to support the podcast at Cash App. And we will provide that information to you as well. Or you can, like I said, go directly to www.wsbilc.com. And again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We will be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcast. But until then, you enjoy the rest of your evening, and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
People are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. The hiring process can be slow and overwhelming. Simplify hiring with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. With over 350 million global monthly visitors according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. That's Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Terms and conditions apply.